We're in.
All right, we're in. So,
We're in.
Bill Anthony, I'm here with Bill Anthony today, and my name is
Yeah.
Dylan Ross. I am a real estate agent in New Jersey and New York City, and I'll let Bill introduce himself as well.
I'm Bill Anthony. I'm a mortgage broker and I do loans in all 50 states.
Awesome. So yeah, I think, Bill, the purpose of you and I jumping on this call was to kind of ask each other some questions about what we've learned from being in real estate and the mortgage side of things, what it's like to work with clients now. How have we seen ourselves grow in this industry, and what are some of the things we're noticing and some of what we're looking forward to in this business? I guess I'll kind of start off on my end and ask you, so how did you get into mortgages?
So I actually got into mortgages. I was actually in the insurance business for about 3 years, property and casualty. So I did home insurance, auto insurance. And after doing that for 3 years, I just wanted a little bit more. I wanted to be able to have more of that personal relationship with my clients, a little bit more flexibility in my schedule in terms of working at my own pace, trying to be my own boss. You know how this industry is, so on and so forth, right? My neighbors across the street, she actually said, listen, my sister, was in the mortgage business. Now she's retired, but let me connect you with my old boss, whose name is Rob Kinney, and he was over in Red Bank, New Jersey. So I met him, we hit it off, and that's how I jumped in.
Cool. So how long have you been doing it for now?
About 18 months now.
And you liking it?
I love it. It's to me, it's the best, or one of the best industries to be in.
Yeah, no doubt. And I feel the same way. For me, it was almost kind of not a plan. And I feel like, life never is. For me, it was more so, during quarantine, I was running my marketing business. And so I come from a digital marketing and design background, of which I started like an agency when I was in college. And I graduated during the peak of COVID. And so while I was working out of home, and I just really didn't feel entirely pushed far enough and fulfilled from the work that I was doing. So I kind of was in one of those situations where I was ready to take on more and look for more opportunity within what I was already doing. Real estate has always been something that's been exciting to me and interesting, I should say. The easy answer, which everyone probably says, is the fact that you can be your own boss. But because I've always been my own boss, that wasn't what was exciting to me. What was exciting to me is all the great people you can meet, the real estate you can see, the people's lives you can impact, and of course, the income potential that comes with this industry is substantial. And so it's one of those kind of careers that, and similar to mortgages, what you put into it is what you necessarily get out of it. If you want to work an hour a week, be my guest. Good luck. See how far you get. You got to be willing to get your hands dirty and work, long hours at the demand of your customers and clients, because they truly set your schedule. So when people come into this business and say, oh yeah, I'm in it because I can make my own hours. Sure. On one hand, that's true. But the reality of it is that your clients pretty much set your hours. And, so having been in this business for now over a year, I've certainly met and have been speaking to and working with a lot of people, whether it have been on leases, sales, investment properties. So I wanted to ask you, how do you clearly define your process, right? So in mortgages, there's, a few steps to get to the closing table. So when somebody comes to you and says, hey, Bill, I want to get a house, where do I start? How did you kind of get to understanding the entire process? Was it a lot of online training, mentorship, or just kind of doing it?
So I would say it's two things. One is that I feel like to be able to best assist your clients, at least for me personally, I like to know the whole story. I like to know their story.
Sure.
Right? Because if I can know their story, I'm able to, on my end, really fully understand what their goals are, what they're looking to do. And also, when you're making a big purchase, such as a home, that can be a little bit stressful, exciting, nervous, and everyone has a different scenario, right? Whether it's financially, whether it's a location, demographics, the whole nine. So if I can really get a better idea of what my clients are looking to do on my end in terms of the mortgage, I'm able to guide them and say, all right, these are your goals right here. Let's come up with the process together to get you from the start line to the finish line, right? And at the end of the day, if they're in their home, whether it's single family, multifamily, investment, whatever they're looking to do, they're able to achieve those goals, then on my end, I'm happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that process and the fact that you have that vision certainly, is why you've been so successful early on, because, there are a lot of people in our industry and our, respective businesses that aren't necessarily willing to walk people through each step at their pace, only wanting it to be our pace. And that's not the job. The job is to truly be an educator and advisor. Interestingly enough, for everyone watching, you and I met over Instagram. Lenders and realtors have a very kind of important relationship in any real estate deal. For those that really don't know and are just chiming into this video, realtors are on the client side of actually dealing with the clients in the field and, showing them property, sourcing properties for them, being able to write up offers and, work with the attorneys to then actually get it under contract, to where to the lender side, you guys are the ones that actually supply the necessary funds so the buyer can actually close and get the house. So without you guys, our jobs are worthless. And so kind of brings me to my point, my next question. So because we met on Instagram, I have to believe that you have a philosophy and, strategy to believe in, that social media is a great way for you to connect with agents and other lenders in your field. So how have you implemented and utilized social media to grow your business?
I mean, that's first of all, I love the question, and I'm happy that you asked that.
Yeah.
Like the social media aspect, I feel like a lot of people are on social media, but it's all about how you could use it to your advantage and to your strengths, right?
Sure.
So I think with anything, whether it's real estate on the lending side, somewhat to what you said, it's all about trying to provide education and knowledge, right? I'm a big believer in that. So I figured on Instagram, that was a good way for me to educate and try to help out others, other realtors, clients, even other lenders, whoever's watching, just to give them as much information as possible. So, any questions that they have, if I can cover it already, then that's great. But I always love the idea of just trying to add value, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're able to add value and bring that to the table, especially if you love the idea of, coaching and educating, I think that just makes your skills at a more of an attainable level. Because when someone is watching, they're going to say, oh my goodness, I didn't know that for a conventional loan for a first-time buyer, I could put down 3%. The stigma is always 20%, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
now that I know it's 3%, now maybe I can buy that home. And,
right. And now, now the problem is the opposite, is that everyone thinks they can just put 3.5% down because of all the TikTok influencers. So for those out there, real estate investing is not as easy as everyone makes it seem on social media. It's certainly something you should look into and should try, but make sure you know what you're doing before just saying, hey, I can put down 3%. So let's go do this thing, but that's great. And yeah, I would have to agree. For me, I've pretty much use social media in the same way you just described. It always blows me away when I see a lot of people in our industries that are always asking, but not telling. So for me, it's always about tell. And what I kind of, to elaborate on that, for me, it's important to educate people on things that could be questions to them and try to touch as many pain points throughout the process as possible. So take a first-time home buyer who doesn't know anything about the process. If I can turn those questions into videos or graphics or, vlogs, whatever it may be, some form of content to share with my audience, for me, that's the tell. The more people see that you're giving and providing as opposed to begging and asking for just business, it allows us to build some sense of rapport so that when they are in a position to start the home buying process, or if they have a house to sell, that they will think back to all of the content that I continually put out with knowledge, so that's how, my approach to social media is for this business. So I too have found it extremely beneficial and extremely helpful, and I plan to continue doing it for, however long I'm in this business. So, but
it'll be a long time then.
Yeah. As we know, there are people who truly neglect it and don't utilize it to its full strength, and they're the ones who will be left behind. So it's one of those things, start doing it or get left behind,
Yeah, exactly. I like the one point you made before with the relationship between lenders and realtors, because at least on my end, like you said, as on the real estate side, as a realtor, you guys are out there and you're getting the clients, whether it's you're doing your own marketing, you're trying to get maybe Facebook leads, Google leads. Zillow leads, whatever it is, but you're out there putting your face out there, your name,
Mhm.
your brand, whatever real estate brokerage you work for, Keller, Coldwell, EXP, right? And you're doing all that work. And from a lending side, at least in your end, once you have the client, similar to what you were saying before, is how can I add that value piece
Sure.
to earn the right to work with your clients and to provide them with a very wonderful experience,
Right.
So I think you
Absolutely.
and I had this conversation previously where you said you had a bunch of other lenders, in the DMs. They're in there. Trust me, every realtor should know this. We're reaching out, but I think that there's got to be a way to separate, yourself, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that really circles back to the value piece and just being a real person. I mean, with anyone that I'm trying to communicate with, it's always like, what can I do to help you?
Right.
How can I add some value? Can I maybe answer any questions you have? If somebody's already ahead of the game and they don't need any help and they're just like, listen, I've got my team, I'm all set, then that's awesome. I'm happy for you that you've got that connection, you've got that relationship. Because for them, if they're comfortable, then great. I love that. You're doing your thing and you're moving at your own pace and you're able to obtain those goals, then that's good. But, I think that the value piece is just really super important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, to kind of further elaborate on what you were saying. So like you had done originally, there are so many lenders who reach out to me via Instagram, Facebook, however, or wherever it may be. They're doing it, trying to, basically build rapport the same way that you and I did, form a relationship. And me being a people person and, an entrepreneur, always understanding the struggle of, building more connections and meeting more people. I entertain all of them just because, in my opinion, it's the right thing to do. But at the end of the day, this is a business where you're limited to the amount of deals you have going on. And, if you start to provide some false hope to people like, oh yeah, I'll give you all my deals or send all my, pre-approvals to you or, my first time buyers, and I'll send you my refinance people. And, so when does it end? So for me, really, it's about having a really good group and good network of a few people that you've worked with and have a great relationship with. Like you and I, we do, a lot of stuff together and we're even continuing to do more. And it's primarily because I trust you. I think you trust me. And, again, it goes to show that because of how our social media presences were prior to meeting each other, I think that really helped kind of build the initial rapport between the two of us. So for those realtors and lenders out there, from both Bill and I, believe that social media can absolutely play an impact and pivotal role in growing and scaling your business. So I think that's, if we can give any words of wisdom, I think that would certainly be some to give.
Yeah. And I mean, even I remember, when we first were able to get together for the first time at, Appreciate, even, like just personality wise, you just hit it off. Right. I mean, I remember just hanging out and it was just good conversation. It was good flow. We have a lot of things in common, obviously, besides the work stuff. But in terms of your core group, like you said, I think those are things that you have to look out for. You should want to work with people who you get along with, who you're friends with. That way, if you need something, like if you need me to get a pre-approval done at midnight, I'll get it done.
Yeah.
If I need you to do something for me at 5 o'clock in the morning, if you're awake somehow, then I know
you have it's not a likely occurrence that, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think you've seen it, people that come to you for a pre-approval that don't have a pre-existing agent. But in, the event that that does happen and you wanted to refer it out, I'm sure you'd call me up, give me the details and say, please, take good care of them and let's get something done. And you have full trust in me and full faith in me because of the relationship that we've built.
Right. And you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And again, a relationship like that, it's always great to have, because like you said, especially on our end as a lender side, if I am able to have business where if I have a client who's pre-approved with no realtor, I want to be able to refer that person to someone I trust, that I value, that's able to fit their goals, fit their needs, and
of course,
take care of them. Because same with you, when your referrals on your end, that's ultimately a reflection of you, right? So if you were to give a referral to, let's say, a lender and they didn't do the pre-approval right, they maybe were a little bit nasty, they only said, I'm going to work 9 to 5. After 5:01, you're SOL. Then they might come back to you and say, hey, Dylan, I spoke to your referral. I'm not really too happy. Then you're sitting there like,
it's sometimes, and the unfortunate thing, for the relationship of a lender and a realtor is that sometimes I'll get a buyer who comes to me and has all of like their, third parties that they have checked off. Like, this is my lender, this is my lawyer, this is my title rep. And not that, it really truly makes a big difference. What it does is it's going into a deal not knowing who you're working with. So for me, I know I like doing work with you. I like working on clients, missions and goals to get these homes with you. I like certain inspectors. I like certain lawyers. I like certain title reps. And when you're going into a transaction with all random people that you've never done a deal with, can it get done? Sure. Can it possibly be a deal that comes with problems and headaches? Also sure. So that's why, we talk about, working with people you like and have relationships with. And truly, it starts with me, the realtor, because the realtor is really the project manager and the facilitator and the advisor. So when someone comes to me and says, hey, I'm not, pre-approved yet, but I want to buy a house, I always will send them to you and say, hey, you need to talk to Bill here, get pre-approved, and we need to kind of get further along in the process. But you start off here and understand what you can afford. And that's based on not just what you have in the bank, that's based on what you qualify for, what you can afford to put down, and also, adding your taxes, principal, interest, et cetera. Here's what you can afford. And that's where you kind of play a pivotal role. And same thing for later on in the deal, when you're under contract and need an attorney, you have people that you can trust and know that you're putting your clients into good hands. So definitely, and totally agree with you. So
absolutely. And one thing, maybe as a spinoff to maybe if newer realtors, if you're watching this, if you're thinking about joining in the real estate business, even with other lenders, I feel like in this business that we're in, at times it can be a little bit of a saturated market, right? You have X amount of realtors, X amount of lenders. And again, it's all about that separation piece. How can I become a master of my craft?
Sure.
And one important piece I think is really great is the aspect of the follow-up. And I say the follow-up because one thing that you were doing with our current client that we're working with is you put us in a group text, same with myself, of course, and we both follow up together. Hey, listen, did you get all the docs in? Did you get everything that you need to get done? And with a good amount of realtors that I also work with, we have the same relationship. So again, it goes back to that team environment, right?
Totally. It's it's a non-traditional team because you're all working kind of towards different missions per se, but the ultimate goal is to close cleanly, well, and have the client's best interest at hand. So it's certainly an industry overall, the real estate business, that has a lot of, should we say, cooks in the kitchen. But when you bring the right cooks, you're making a great meal. If that analogy came out terribly stupid, I apologize, but I think you understand kind of what I mean.
I mean, it fits your background. So you know what? Hey,
Exactly. So Bill, to kind of wrap things up here for, the people watching and who we're sharing this with, real estate over the past 2 years has been insane. And I'm sure, from your perspective, you would say the reason for that is because rates have been so low, which is true. And from my perspective, I would tell you, because rates are so low and, people want to take advantage of that, buyers are out like crazy. All sounds great. But the only problem is the inventory is so low. So, a year ago, we thought as we're going through this market, things are going to start to change and things are going to start to cool down. Here we are a year later, and I can surely tell you things are not cooling down and not really changing, with a caveat. I know we, together, we both track where interest rates are. And I know this past week or two, we've seen interest rates